what would you prescriptively lay out for individuals and these organizations that are operating here as what would be 5 strong good moves for them to engage in order to move from survival to thrival?
Well, one thing I would say, and it was part of your 5, is find your own, where can you find some peace? Identify where you can find peace, where you don't worry about anything, there's nobody asking anything of you. I realized from my father, he went fishing. Now my sister and I would want to go with him. He let us go a couple of times. He's like, no, y'all can't go. Y'all make too much noise. I come out here for peace and quiet. And that notion of peace and quiet was real, but you just, it was like, it was just a phrase. But now I understand it was peace and quiet. And so find where is your peaceful, where can you find peace? I also like the notion of purpose. And purpose can be a big thing, or it can be a small thing. Is your purpose just to raise the best human beings on this planet? Then every decision you make should support that. That's something I'm not as good at, because I will get distracted by, oh, this is nice over here, I should go do this. And those things, some of those things I do are valuable, but they aren't directly contributing to my purpose. And so the fine purpose. And then I would say, what is it you can do in your community that will contribute to your purpose? Because your purpose has got to be broader than you. And it should affect people more than you.
When people in this room, the organizations in this room, the individuals that lead these organizations rise to a certain amount of leadership, they then become targets of those in the community who have mental health issues, have green-eyed envy issues. You've been at the leadership of a very powerful organization. You handle it so gracefully. What would your advice be to these leaders in the room who deal with that type of crab in the barrel mentality that strikes inside of our community so often?
Ignore it the best you can, because all of that is not about you. All of that's about them. And stay as authentic as possible. I have some of my staff, or people will ask me, they say, well, you just seem so black, authentically black. And I'm like, well, I have been all my career. I've never been afraid to be black. And so I don't wear as many masks as a lot of young people do. And they asked me, well, why don't you? And I said, because being me was working. Being me was working for me. So there was no need to stop. And I deliver to organizations what they want. And I find out a way to do that and still be authentic, so that I don't feel like I'm shortchanging myself. So be yourself, stand on your business, deliver, and then demand your reward.
If you could have one piece of advice, or as Oprah Winfrey calls it, what is it? What I know for sure.
What do you know for sure?
What is one thing that you would speak to them of one thing that you know for sure in your journey up into the position that you've achieved and the success that you've achieved?
I know for sure that being able to really understand the landscape that you're working in, where the minefields are, where the path is for you, and then doing that path and not being afraid to ask for it are some things I know for sure. I'll give you two examples. This is years ago when I was in an organization called the Center for Creative Leadership, and our CEO announced plans to open an office in Philadelphia in, 1995. So I went to my boss and I said, what do I need to do to be a serious candidate for that job in 1995? So he took me to his boss, who would be the person who decided, and I said, what do I need to do? What do I need to show to be a serious candidate? And he was like, okay, you need a doctorate. You need to move from the nonprofit side of the house to the for-profit side of the house. You need to show you can generate revenue. You need to show that you can stand your own in Fortune 200 with Fortune 200 executives. And you need to manage something. So I was like, okay, got my list. I started ticking off that list. Started a doctoral program. I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish this, because the agreement, I went to them and said, would you pay for my doctoral program? And they said, yes, we will. But you have to give back, you have to stay with the company a year for every year it takes you to get the degree. Okay, so doctorate programs are usually, there's 7 years, a 7-year limit. So I said, I'm gonna finish it in 3 years. And the school, Vanderbilt said, no, but you can't finish a doctorate in 3 years. My colleague said, you can't spend a doctorate in 3 years and you're working full time. And I was like, okay, watch me. 3 years, I finished. Because I wanted the degree and I didn't want to be an indentured servant for 7 years. The most recent thing I would say about asking, I had gone to my board, I got some staff members here, and I said my original retirement date was the end of 2024. And they came back to me and said, would you stay till X? And I said, okay, I'll stay till X, but you got to make it worth my while. And they said, well, what do you want? This is my board chair. Well, what do you want? I said, I want what the white boys get.
You got a jet? Is that what we're doing, Karen? We flying in jets?
I said, I want what the white boys get. And they said, well, what is that? And I said, well, talk to Patrick. He's our compensation consultant. He can explain it to you. Patrick explained it to them, and then they came back, and I got what the white boys get, right? So you can't be afraid of those compensation discussions. We get, and it's not like so we just are taught, well, just work hard and they'll recognize you and you'll get rewarded. Well, you got to make them recognize you. I know that for sure. And you got to ask for your reward. Or go find somewhere else that will recognize you with that reward. So those are some things I know for sure about a path.
I love that. Give it up one more time for Sister Karen.